What's going on, people? Just joined the Abomination. Appreciate y'all coming through, checking out the video. Now, Mufasa has been previously announced, which I've already stated in my last video, but we was kind of speculating or thinking about what will they be doing with this movie? What can you really do with the Mufasa prequel? Who really cares about it? Who wants to see that story? Now, instead of Disney investing in their Lion King 1, Lion King Simba's Pride, and whatever Lion King 3 they can make out of that whole story, which I'm thankful for. But instead of them touching that, they're going to play it safe and go back into the past with Mufasa. And again, what is this Mufasa, the Lion King prequel movie about? Well, there was an article from Screen Rant stating Mufasa, the Lion King is the wrong story, and Disney already knows it. That's the title of this article. Mufasa, the Lion King will explore of how Mufasa became the king of Pride Rock, but there's a Lion King character far more deserving of a prequel. And this is by Joshua Fox. Mufasa, the Lion King, is by and large the wrong Lion King story for Disney to tell, and what's weirder is that Disney should already be well aware of this. Mufasa largely exists as a means of kickstarting both the main plot of the Lion King and Simba's character arc, so there could be some benefit to fleshing out his character more. Even so, there's already a far more interesting route for a prequel story that Disney should be well aware of at this point. Now, if you're not going to talk about Mufasa in a prequel, then you can kind of already tell what this guy is hinting at. But let's keep going. At D23 2022, the previously announced prequel to 2019's The Lion King was given its official title of Mufasa, the Lion King, set for a 2024 release with Barry Jenkins directing. The movie, as the title implies, will tell the story of Mufasa's childhood and how he grew up to become King of Pride Rock. Exclusive footage at D23 revealed that Mufasa came to the Pride Lands after he was orphaned as a child in a flood. So it's clear that the movie is going to do a lot to add to his original character. So I have issues with this, but they're getting away with things not being explicitly said, because although there is a story of Mufasa and Taka and their parents, Ahadi and Uru, it doesn't explicitly say that Mufasa is his birth son. So I can see how they will be getting away with this, and as well as how Kovu is referred to as the new king of Pride Rock. So they don't use titles like son-in-law to kind of distance or make sure you audience know that these are not directly biologically related. But at the same time, this story was for kids. So, why would they have to say like son-in-law, father, all that type of stuff? It's just king, son, father, dad, whatever. So again, they're working with they're doing what they can with this, but it's not necessarily the best move to make. That being said, if there's going to be a Lion King prequel, then it would make far more sense for it to be about Scar, not Mufasa. Mufasa's original character in Disney's The Lion King was defined as a paragon of virtue and justice. So for him to end up at that point by the end of Mufasa, The Lion King, he needs to unambiguously be the hero of the movie, which could easily make things boring to watch. A prequel about Scar, on the other hand, would avoid that problem by being about his rise to villainy, as that would allow for more twist on his character, including the possibility of adding a degree of sympathy to flesh out the character. Now, this is exactly what I said in my previous video. I think that they're going to go the whole sympathetic route for Scar, because if Mufasa is not the biological son, then it could justify, in a way, almost Scar's jealousy of his brother, because like, you're not even the biological son. How are you chosen to be king over me? But the same way we see Mufasa as this virtuous, this great guy, it can't do any wrong, really. Then you have Scar, pure villain, does what it takes to achieve his goals. We don't need to see the backstory of those. Those are like our archetypes, our head figures, and teaching you who to be, what to be like, what not to be like, good versus evil. This story don't really need to be nuanced anymore, because the focus is on the current Lion King, Simba, and his story, his lineage. Scar will be a far better character for a prequel story than Mufasa, and Disney already knows this with all the extra material focused on him. The 1994 book, A Tale of Two Brothers, exactly, famously gave the Lion King Scar a backstory of feeling like his parents preferred Mufasa over him, including how they named him Taka, which means trash in Swahili. The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, also fleshed out Scar's character with the ambiguous nature of his relationships with Kovu and Zira, and the Lion Guard even brought him back as the main villain of the show. The Lion King franchise has already done a lot to bring extra focus to Scar's character, so it would have made sense to keep that going and have him be the one to get his own movie as opposed to Mufasa. Now, and the Tale of Two Brothers, that's the story that I mentioned where you got all of this Lion King backstory. So I knew that, more people know that, this author, this journalist knew that, does Disney know that? And again, it's not explicitly stated in these books, from what I remember, that he's the biological son, but it's like, why do we have to go there? But also this, I'm glad he mentioned the Lion King too, where they talk about Scar's, like, family, what's going on in the Outlands, Scar's army that he had kind of in waiting, of family. But this character being adopted, he shouldn't be the king, that's already in Lion King 2. That's Nuka's issue with Kovu.
Kovu. Scar wasn't even his father. He just took him in. Oh, hey, Tawny. Where's little termite Kovu? The chosen one.
Because Nuka is the biological son of Scar, and he's like, Kovu wasn't even his father. Like, why? So anyway, yeah. What little information that's been given about Mufasa, the Lion King, is already painting it as a very predictable story, which is why it would have made more sense for Scar to be the one with the prequel movie instead of the Lion King, Mufasa. But at the same time, you would have got a Maleficent or a Cruella, where we're talking about the backstory of the villain and feeling more sympathetic for them. We don't need to see that again. Scar's status as a villain leaves far more room for developing his character compared to Mufasa, and with how much he's received additional focus in other installments of the franchise, Scar getting the movie seemed like it would be a natural conclusion. Mufasa, the Lion King, can still end up doing a lot with Mufasa's character, but at the end of the day, it's hard to see this as the best story for Disney to tell. I personally think if you're going to do a Mufasa prequel, if you're going to do a prequel, it shouldn't be Mufasa. It should just be about Mufasa and Scar and their brotherly relationship. I don't think it needs to have a whole movie dedicated to it. Maybe some straight to Disney Plus, like a little 45-minute hour special or something, to see their relationship. But that should come after your Lion King movie trilogy that they've already fucked pretty much. So in The Tale of Two Brothers, that series of storybooks, it was Scar, he planned an attack on Mufasa, went wrong. He ended up being the one actually hurt in that process. Mufasa saves him, and that's how Scar ends up getting his scar, or that's how Taka ends up getting his scar. And then Scar didn't, relate to any of the lions, so he started hanging out with his hyena homies, and that's how you get the relationship of them. They carried over into the Lion King 1, supposedly. But then in Lion Guard, Scar got his scar from a snake bite that was planned by another lion who wanted to manipulate Scar.
I found his idea intriguing, though the most powerful lion was me.
Let's hear from the actual director of this Mufasa movie, because he speaks on the details of it. So yeah, let's just hear the words coming out of his mouth, his description.
Mufasa is the story of how the character we know and love came to be who he is. I always just assumed Mufasa is king because he's great, And I think it's really cool to go through and unpack and see how his family, his friends, his journeys shaped him to be the king that he is. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of tricky though. My favorite moment is not going to be a good answer. Is I remember being a kid and watching Simba crawl up to Mufasa after the stampede, and just feeling so many emotions. It's a very heavy scene, but it's also a very safe.
Agreed. That was a very heavy scene. and that's what I mean by like seeing the Lion King and being able to have that story told to me as a kid of like, you know, this kid seeing his dad die before his very eyes and feeling like he's the blame or he's the cause of that. And it's tough. And the emotions in that movie, in that animated movie, especially as opposed to what we see in this Lion King 2019 remake or some shit.
They've seen as a kid, I felt very safe watching it, and it's just so full of emotions. I'll say that's my favorite. And then, of course, when Simba meets Timon and Pumbaa, it's just awesome. Yeah. Thank you, man.
All right, so this was happening. Friends and family around him, how they helped him to become the king who he is. Not just because he was great and his father chose the right lion for the job or to take over the Pride Lands. It's because of everything that happened around him. But hearing the director talk about it, I mean, it seems like he actually did, you know, care about the Lion King. But you have to wonder, like, how far does that go? You know, is it just the one movie that you're working with and you're creating your own story off of it? Or are you doing your Lion King research? Are you referring to the source material, the lore of the Lion King established universe, Disney canon, books or movies and shows? That's what's happening with Mufasa, people. Just bringing y'all the knowledge, the info, the news on Mufasa as I can get it or figure out what to, you know, how to turn this stuff into videos and, you know, just giving my thoughts. The Lion King is my favorite movie of all time, and I hate what happened with that remake, and I'm not looking forward to the further bastardization of this property. But that's all for this video. Go ahead, leave me a like or a dislike, you know, depending on my commentary. If those buttons are not enough, tell me how you really feeling by leaving a comment down below. Are you excited for Mufasa? What's your favorite moment from The Lion King? Do you enjoy The Lion King? What's your favorite Disney movie? And if you find any value in my opinion whatsoever and you want to hear more of my thoughts, I appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel.
So I'm not sure I get you.
Give me a real fight.
Any of you guys read that chapter in The Art of War about misdirection?